Hi and welcome along to this walkthrough of Unfiltered Audio's BYOME with me, Steve Helstrip. BYOME is a modular multi-effects plugin. It comes with a whole stack of effects built in, ranging from simple delay, chorus and pitch effects, as you might expect, through to more complex granular and frequency shifting effects, which all allow you to mash up your sounds in some pretty unique and interesting ways. In addition to the 40 or so effects modules, BYOME incorporates an incredibly deep modulation system, and this allows you to automate any parameter in any way you can possibly imagine. This could be a simple LFO or an envelope to modulate the level of, say, a delay, or a step sequencer programmed to control the filter cutoff of a filter. So the possibilities are pretty much endless with this one. So let's dig in and have a look at the interface. Along the top we have access to the presets, and BYOME comes with 200 or more presets in various categories and from various artists, so that will certainly get you on your way. So moving along, we have our input output section. A couple of things to note here is that we have a global sample rate, and as you can see the tooltip pops up there, so you can maybe read that, but basically what it does, it slows down the sample rate, so that will affect effects in different ways. So if you have a delay, for example, it's going to increase the delay buffer and slow down the actual delay. There's also an automatic gain compensation, similar to what you might find on a compressor, so that'll try and level out the effects level for you. And you have a wet dry control with the mix knob. In the middle row is where you add your effects modules. Now, as I said earlier, there are over 40 included, and these range from delays, distortions, various dynamics, processing, filters. So you have there's a comb filter in there, a ladder filter similar to like the Moog filter, resonant bank. This allows you to create some pretty awesome vocoder type effects. There's a few granular effects in there, and then we have various mixing options, so panning and EQ, etc. Along the third row here is where you'll find the modulation section. A default preset gives you 2 sine LFOs. Of course, you can change the shape of those, and just like the effects modules, if you go into the menu here, you can choose from the other sources. So we have sequencers and other modifiers, LFOs and envelopes, so lots and lots of options to get stuck into. Something to note with all the modules is that you can double click the header to shrink the size down. You can also turn them on or off individually. And with many of the modules, there are extra options available, so do look out for those. Of course, with the tooltips enabled, you can get a quick overview of what every parameter does, so that's really handy to have on as well. So let's get stuck in and see what we can do with BYOME. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been having a lot of fun just starting with a simple percussive sound and feeding it through a chain of modules and then modulating those modules and trying to create unique sounds that you wouldn't easily be able to create in other ways. So what I've done is I've loaded a simple percussive hi-hat sound onto my channel in Cubase, which sounds just like this. So just a very straightforward analog type hi-hat sound. What I'm going to do is run that through a delay to begin with. So we go into the menu. As you can see, we've got quite a few options. Let's go with the multi-tap because this has an interesting parameter called space. I'll explain what that does. First of all, I'm just going to set this to 2 beats. Let's go with 16 taps. So we have basically 16 repeats of the delay, and the space parameter will gradually increase the space between the delays to create a really nice effect. So I'll just play that to you rather than try to explain. So a really nice effect. Of course, if we go backwards, we get the reverse effect. Almost like the bouncing ball algorithm used in some other plugins. So I really love this. So I'm going to apply a positive value here. I'm just using the mouse wheel to fine tune here. We can use the amplitude to apply the same principle to the level. And then I'm going to apply 100% mix. There we go. So that's quite interesting. What we can then do is add another effect. First thing I'm going to do is just collapse this down to make more space on the screen. And let's try going into another delay. So let's pop into here, and what should we go with? Tape delay. Let's go into tape delay. So let's just start. Again, I'm just kind of playing around here, and every time I get stuck into BYOME, I end up somewhere completely unpredictable. But it's, it's interesting and fun along the way. And, sometimes you get some really, really cool results. Other times you have to kind of just start all over. But that's what I love about this plugin. Okay, so let's add some stereo-ness to this by changing the delay in the right channel. So if we click the plus button here, we can offset the delay in the right. So let's offset that by, let's say, I don't know, 16th. Let's see how this sits. You also have a filter here. So if we want to run a high-pass filter on the delays or a low-pass. Let's just move along. So I'm going to collapse that down again. Let's try some reverb to create a bit of space. And what I like about BYOME is that when you have a big long reverb on a sound like this, you can then use filters to affect the reverb tail. So you can really, in terms of sound design, this is great fun. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So let's load up the Renown reverb. You have these scroll bars here to move along, of course. And I'm going to hit play again. I'm just playing around here until I find something that sounds interesting. Of course, you can tweak away endlessly here, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to add more effects just to show you how easy it is to build up chains. Let's go in and add a flanger. Okay, so what I like about the way this flanger works is that you can set the rate to 0 and control manually how where the flanging goes. So I'll have a little play with that now and try to illustrate what I'm talking about. There we go. So now as I modulate the delay, I can either do this through a modulation source such as an LFO, or I can also assign that to my DAW to modulate. So I've got lots of options here. So I could even use a step sequencer to go through a pattern, so you can almost play a tune in itself on the resonant frequencies. So it's very exciting to have this much control and so easily as well. So I think what I'm going to do here is take this one step further and add more modulation type effects. So I'm just going to tweak this a little bit more first. And don't forget, this is just an analog style hi-hat, which I'm getting this crazy sound from. So in fact, let me just crank that all the way up. Let's have a full stereo, and let's see how we're sounding now. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Let's go along. I mentioned the frequency shifter earlier, which, I don't fully understand what it's doing, but I was playing with it, a couple of hours ago, actually, and I was like, this is really, really fun. So let me just show you what I was doing. Here it is. So let's have a look. So let's just remind ourselves where we came from. I'm going to bypass BYOME. There we go. And now we have. Love that. That's great. So much fun. So we can now, of course, go back to the flanger and have a lot of fun with that as well. I mentioned earlier that we have a global sample rate parameter, so I'll just show you how that affects the sound. So I'm sure you can see from a sound design perspective, this is a lot of fun indeed. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can modulate some of the parameters. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just turn down the feedback on the flanger so that it's less intense. Okay, that's a little more like it. So yeah, we can take literally take the output from the sine modulator. It's just like a patch-based system, which you're probably familiar with. And if we add some value here and increase the amplitude, you can see what's happening there. Of course, we can change to a saw wave or a square wave or any of the other modulators. But let's just leave it with a sine wave for now. And just to show you the basics of how this works. I'm going to slow this down. And I'm going to turn down the overall amount, so you can change the strength here. Okay, so that's quite nice. And then I'm going to leave that running and have a little play with the frequency shifter. And I may modulate this also. There we go. So you can get some really, really crazy effects going on. Really love that. So again, what I could also do actually is take this output and control both at the same time. So let's just see what this does. Okay, so I hope that gives you kind of an idea of what you can do. Of course, you can add more effects and just endlessly play with this and come up with some really fantastic and unique sounds. So I've certainly had a lot of fun with this, and I'm going to be using it a lot more. And of course, once you get to this stage in sound design, you can just change that analog style hi-hat that I put on my audio track in Cubase for anything, whether it's a vocal stab or anything else. And of course, apply this kind of processing chain to anything and come up with some really, really, really cool stuff. So I hope that's given you some idea of what can be done. Of course, go check out the demo and have a play for yourself. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. Okay, so that's it for now, and I'll hopefully speak to you another time. I'm Steve from the Thrillseekers. Bye for now.